Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Aarav. Visually he kind of looks like the OG Aarav, kind of like the chef. He's got a lot of cooking utensils and stuff, but he looks like he's got into a pretty gruesome fight. He is missing one eye. As you can see, he's wearing an eye patch on the right hand side. He is going to remain that fast character. We'll see how in line he is with his OG S-Class. Quite a fan favourite, honestly. On the left-hand side, he's got the sausages. He's also got that machete, I believe, that he had as an S-Class character, and he's absolutely destroying a walker right now. Absolutely destroying a walker. It looks like it's kind of got, like, razor edge. I can only just about see it. But it isn't attached to him, so it could potentially be a separate weapon that comes into the game later on down the line. We'll have to wait and see. We'll check him out at level 1440. That's full lieutenants and full maxed out level LB3. He has got 32,975 attack, 20,705 defense, and 23,006 HP. He is a fast character, obviously. Considered a damage roll character, which makes a lot of sense. You can see that high damage stat. Mythic character, and yet another character to join the Day 1 Allegiance. That allegiance is now filling out quite nicely. Now, first things first, we'll take a look. Here's Adrenaline Rush, and it is called Master Chef. I think that's maybe a little bit of a nod to Halo. Any Halo fans out there? 66 AP, deals 600% damage to a line of enemies. This character gets 50% attack for 2 turns. So this is a lot like the S-Class version, but there's not going to be the 100% AP gain once doing this rush. I think he didn't have to do anything in particular to have that happen. He just got 100% AP when rushing. He didn't have to take anyone out, I don't think. But I think the new follow-up to Specialist skill was kind of like invented because of Aarav, the OG Aarav having follow-up, and obviously getting the 100% AP, so they decided to just put it straight on the actual Specialist skill itself. So that's actually kind of interesting, but the 50% attack is okay, unless he gets AP in his kit somewhere else. For instance, like he has it in his passives or a signature move where he gets extra AP. That buff is not going to actually last long enough to, buff him for his next rush, because effectively that's only buffing him for his next turn, because one of those 2 turns is the turn that he actually rushes. So we'll see what else he has in his kit later on, but we'll just test out the rush as it is. Okay, so we have got the Adrenaline Rush up of Aarav here. I put a different weapon in his hand. It's just an attack 1535. You're kind of standard, not as high attack stat as you potentially could get on other weapons. But we'll rush the top line, and you can see it does reasonable damage. It's going to be able to take out a tough character, as you would expect. There is some other things that just happened. There was some AP gain, so there's going to be some AP gain in the rest of his kit. But as you can see, he only gets the 50% buff for 2 turns. And if I just take the turns of my other characters, you'll see that's just this turn on the next turn. Now, because of the way the AP gain worked, he actually can potentially get a rush this turn as well if he has his signature move available and you have a command. But in this case, I'm dazed, so that isn't going to be the case. But for instance, I could do something along the lines of this, and if I actually hit the crit on Glenn, Aarav would have been able to rush again with the 50% attack. So we'll look at the upgrades on the Adrenaline Rush Master Chef. It has got a 300% damage boost at grade 3, so initially it does only do 300% damage, and then it gets boosted up to 600%. At grade 5, it gets an upgrade where this character gets 25% attack bonus for 2 turns, and at Limit Break 2, it gets boosted from 25% attack bonus up to 50% attack bonus. So not really that crazy on the Adrenaline Rush upgrades, honestly. It's just pretty standard. There isn't much going on here. It's a very straightforward rush. 600% damage to a line, buffs himself for 2 turns. Regardless of what happens, that next turn, signature move or rush, will be amplified by 50%, so it's still going to be decent. If you can get him to rush again quickly, which looks like you potentially could in certain scenarios, he would potentially get this rush to be buffed by 50%, which generally means it's going to be a 900% rush, and that's going to be much more devastating to the defense teams. So I don't think this rush is terrible by any stretch. It is just going to do a lot of damage to a line. There is potential for him to take out multiple characters in one go. You can control where the secondary hit goes. If you have these characters that attack one character or deal damage to 2 characters, the second hit you don't control, so it could hit that payback, it could hit that bide, Whereas with Aarav, that's never going to happen. You always have full control of the second hit because it always does a line. So you can go for the leader if you just want to do one particular character. You could go for the line without any sort of like retribution style things or like payback and stuff like that. So you can always control the damage, which is always good to have as an option for attacking, teams. For instance, Eva has quite similar, but she's tough. So it's good to have trait options. It's good to have damage options. So I think Aarav's rush here is pretty nice, but it's pretty basic. Now he does also have a signature move, and it has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited, deal 500% damage to a single enemy, up to 2 other enemies get impaired for 2 turns. It is worth noting, just like the Gentleman, his rush cannot crit, and his signature move here cannot crit. And just like the Gentleman, if you look forward to the specialist skill, it's going to be very similar to other things as well. But that means you just build pure damage on this character if you're going to be doing things like combat mods, because this signature move, as much as it is doing turn 1 deal 500%, like I say, can't crit, can't proc weapons, can't proc passives. There are definitely upsides and downsides to it. The impair is nice. You don't have to take someone out. Will it be the person you actually use this against plus one other? We'll take a look. If I do take a character out, will it still be 2 other enemies that actually get impaired? The wording makes out that if I do nuke someone on that turn 1, 2 other enemies will still get impaired, which is quite nice. So here we are on turn 1, and I'm going to target a character that makes a lot of sense. It's going to be a tough character, and we're going to use the signature move on Alice up the top right. This is going to do trait damage. While this cannot crit, it can still do trait damage. Signature move is going to come in. It's going to do pretty significant damage, and as you can see, we took her out, but we also gained some extra AP in the process. This is pretty interesting. We'll get onto that later on in the video. But no matter what, whether I take out the character or not, 2 characters should always get impaired by the looks of things, which is always nice. And on that turn 1, that means you're stopping AP gain from characters who get it. Like, for instance, if I was to follow up some damage onto Garrett here, you notice he's not taking any AP, even though he's taking damage. And then when he does his next turn, when he does his signature moves and stuff, Maggie, no AP gain. Garrett, no AP gain. This is really powerful control. Turn 1 impair is very, very good. And as you can see, once we get to turn 2, I have got a natural rush on my Aarav because of how things have worked so far. Now, before we get into the finer details of why he's getting the AP, we're going to just check out the upgrades here on the signature move. And you can see at grade 2, it gets a 200% damage boost, so it goes from 300% up to 500%. And then at grade 4, it gets an upgrade where 2 other enemies get impaired for 1 turn. At limit break 1, it gets -1 to starting cooldown, and I'd say that's quite important to get the starting cooldown to be turn 1. And at LB 3, it gets +1 to impair duration. I don't think this is that important, but it is obviously nice. 1 turn impair, as you saw, is still very powerful. It's going to stop AP gain when you attack a character and when they attack on their first turn. 2 turns just means it's going to be, lasting longer, be slightly more powerful that way. His damage is not going to get better just purely off the signature move, but obviously he will have higher stats the higher limit breaks you go, so it is generally, a good idea if you can. So I think this signature move is actually really powerful. I would maybe go ahead and say that compared to his rush, this actually has a lot more power on it. Very nice control. 500% is a lot. As much as it cannot crit, it definitely can be amplified in other ways, which we're going to check out again later on in the video. There's a lot of boosts that this character can get in his passives and specialist skill, but I like this signature move quite a lot. Turn 1, there's a lot of characters out there that can actually boost fast characters as well. If you team him up with Isabel, she's going to give him a flat attack boost, and that's all he needs. Flat attack. Cannot crit, so flat attack all the way. Now next up, we're going to look at his mythic abilities, and this is Aarav's passives to check out how all this stuff was working. And first up, he has got agility, and it's going to run into the same issues that the Gentleman had, where this isn't going to boost his rush or his signature move, only his basic attacks. So it might not be worthwhile upgrading this, at least not fully. The next one is perfect parry. When rushing, 100% chance this character gains absolute defense, reducing all reflected and counter damage to 0. This means he kind of counters like Bide, and as a solo character, he does counter payback, but his teammates will need to rely on other things. But that's actually nice against Bide characters, for instance. That's nice. And then next up, we have Battle Weathered. This character gains 60% more damage from Cutthroat 2, and that is his specialist skill. That means that if a character does have a debilitating effect on them, he will do extra damage, and now he's going to be getting even more damage on top of that, which is going to be very nice indeed, especially considering he's got a 500% signature move and 600% line rush, so the amplification is going to be big. This is what we were seeing, Blood Rage. When killing a target, 100% chance to gain 50% AP. What's interesting about this is it has the potential to make his rush a 100% AP gain rush, because if he does manage to kill the line of enemies, then the next turn he will have his rush fully again, which we will test out in a second. But if he kills someone on that first turn with the signature move, he will gain the 35 from the actual signature move usage. He'll gain 33 from the takedown, and that's a natural first turn rush with no other AP gain required. No weapons, nothing like that. The potential here on Aarav is actually going to be pretty good. So I figured the easiest way to show you this would be just against low level characters. I'm just going to defend on Lee quickly because of the command. But just like when we attacked Alice, we could take someone out first turn. We're going to get the 35 from using the signature move, and then the 33 from the passive gaining 50% AP, making us get our max rush. And then on the next turn, we could theoretically take out a line of enemies, obviously. And we should get 100% AP here. Just like the S-Class version, it is going to be more reliant on him actually getting takedowns. But now he has got the 50% buff, as you can see. Now he has got the 50% buff. And if we just defend again, naturally, the next turn he'll be able to rush. Although in this certain scenario, it's not good because obviously Guardian Shields. But he'll be able to naturally rush, but with a 50% boost. So now we rush again, and guess what? Gets the full rush yet again. If you have a command, I could decide to command him, rush the last character alive, or whatever situation you're in, you have options. So that's actually pretty good. So we'll look at the upgrades on these passives, and if you look at grade 1, you get the first half of perfect parry. That's the absolute defense. I didn't really show that, but basically that will stop things like bide reflecting back on the character, which is obviously nice. And that's only going to be when you rush though, not on the signature move, which can still hit very hard, so you've got to be very careful who you target there. At grade 2, you get the first half of agility. Again, you might only want to upgrade this to 9, just get a little bit of a boost, not use too many of your more important trainers. And then at grade 3, you get the second half of perfect parry, making a 100% chance to turn that reflected damage, basically, and counter damage to 0. Then we go to grade 4, you get the first half of battle weathered, and this character gains 20% more damage from Cutthroat 2, which is obviously nice. And then at grade 5, he gets the first half of Blood Rage. When killing a target, 50% chance to gain 50% AP. So obviously LB3 looks like it's going to be the most important, because as we go on to the limit breaks, Agility 2 comes in at LB1. LB2, the second half of Battle Weather, comes in, making it 60% more bonus damage from Cutthroat 2. And then at LB3, Blood Rage 2 makes it 100% chance to gain 50% AP when killing a target. This is the passive to get on this character for sure. So LB3 is definitely the requirement in terms of getting this character to like full potential power on an attack team. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing decent nukes, but it's going to be much slower. You're going to be much slower potential there. So I think these passives are quite nice though. They work nice on his kit. We're going to check out his specialist skill in a moment, but if someone has got that like a debilitating status effect, it just means that he's going to be doing more damage against them. And if he does more damage against someone, he's more likely to proc that Blood Rage. So yeah, that's actually pretty nice overall. So we will check out the specialist skill, and it is Cutthroat 2. Whenever this character deals damage to a fighter that is under the effect of a debilitating status, they will deal 100% extra damage. This basically will double his damage output overall, pretty much, and make him absolutely nuke. That rush will just turn into an absolute monstrous rush, and it just almost guarantees that his passive will proc. The fact that he gets the extra boost on top because of those passives as well makes this a kind of like Cutthroat 3 in that case, just for Aarav. So I kind of like that for sure. I would say his rush isn't like super powerful in terms of the individual hits. 600% for a rush hit is not crazy, but you definitely can amplify it with this specialist skill. The fact that it can't crit is a downside, but the fact that it can double effectively because of this, or even like just slightly more because of the passives, you should be able to get takedowns quite consistently if you attack the right characters and if you team up Aarav with the right teammates. Now lastly, Aarav does not have an attached weapon, but like I said, you'd probably want to go all out attack. You'd want to go for attack percentage, 1535, maybe AP on attack because you obviously need to get some AP sometimes, but you might be able to build him where he's just a monster. Sometimes the extra 5% attack can make the difference. If you can get 50 to 55% attack on the weapon, happy days. Now if there is a third slot that gives you bonuses from getting takedowns, then that is probably a good one to use on Aarav. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Like getting bonuses from getting kills. Kind of like the alert weapon, where if you get a kill, you get bonus HP and a defense bonus, basically. I don't think anything like that exists in Fast, but you never know. One might come out in the future, and that will definitely be beneficial in Aarav hands, because he can't have on-hit procs, because his rush and his signature move just aren't going to do that. They just deal damage. There's upsides and downsides, and one of the downsides is no on-hit procs. The big bonus is, to a certain extent, Fast don't have very good attacking weapons, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So that is Gold Mythic Aarav, and he actually seems like a pretty solid all-round character. At the higher end of like the Aaravs that we're going to see, you're going to see really fast rushing, multi-rushing characters in terms of like rushing twice in a turn because of commands, 2 turns in a row, lots of damage output potential. But people who don't get him up that high and don't get the best out of him would still be able to get reasonable amounts of damage out of him if you just use him correctly. You know, attacking characters that are controlled so you get the damage boosts should give you the chance to get the procs on the AP game, even if you don't have him at LB3. So he's still going to be pretty solid otherwise, but LB3 looks like it's going to be a very nice character indeed. Do tell me your thoughts on Gold Mythic Aarav though, guys. Leave them in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.